Ladies and gentlemen, what I have to show you today is absolutely insane. You see, we now have proof that various top Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, had a private meeting with Zelenskyy just hours before he sat down with President Trump. And the goal of that meeting? To sabotage Trump's plan for peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. And yes, you heard that right. The very same Democrats that pretend to care about democracy just worked to subvert our democratically elected president in order to keep a foreign war going. But hey, don't take my word for it. Take a listen to this.
The peace deal that blew up in the Oval Office Friday would have been the starting point for negotiations to end the Ukraine war. It would have put America at the center of Ukraine's future development, and it would have brought back some of the money we invested over there. It's also worth mentioning that it would have stopped the killing. So how come it fell apart in that Oval Office blow-up? Well, perhaps it's got something to do with the meeting that Zelenskyy had with top Democrats hours before he arrived at the White House. Democrat Senator Chris Murphy posted this on X on Friday morning. Quote, "Just finished a meeting with President Zelenskyy here in Washington. He confirmed that the Ukrainian people will not support a fake peace agreement where Putin gets everything he wants, and there are no security arrangements for Ukraine." End quote. In other words, just before Zelenskyy was due to sign the deal, he was telling the Democrats he didn't like it, and they supported his opposition. They encouraged him not to sign. Then Zelenskyy went into the Oval Office, rolled his eyes, talked over the president, argued with him, and killed the whole thing. No doubt the Democrats are pleased. They have helped scuttle President Trump's foreign policy initiative. They're piling on the insults. Senator Adam Schiff calls our president a coward. Democrat Congressman Seth Moulton says Zelensky's a hero for standing up to Trump and Vance, who he calls puppets. Perhaps the left believes that Trump can be demonized again. Is this the return of Trump derangement syndrome, maybe? That doesn't do America any good at all, and it certainly doesn't help the people of Ukraine who now have to keep fighting.
Folks, all of this is absolutely unbelievable. The Democrats aren't just opposing Trump domestically, no, now they're working to undermine and subvert him on the world's stage. And now we actually have even more proof regarding just how deep this betrayal of American democracy actually goes. You see, inside sources are confirming that Chuck Schumer himself instructed Zelenskyy to reject Trump's peace proposal. And then, after Trump's meeting with Zelenskyy had concluded, guess what Chuck Schumer did? He came out and publicly accused President Trump of, quote, doing Putin's dirty work. Folks, you seriously can't make this stuff up. The Democrats are literally going behind our president's back, sabotaging peace talks, then accusing him of being the bad guy. But you know what? Check this out. Chuck Schumer wasn't acting alone on this one. Because now we have reports that are alleging that several key figures from Obama's team also told Zelenskyy to reject Trump's peace negotiations. This list includes former Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Victoria Nuland, Susan Rice, and Alexander Vindman. So folks, let's get all of this straight. We have unelected former officials from the Biden and Obama administration, as well as Senate Democrats, interfering with foreign policy without the sitting president's approval, all to keep the war in Ukraine going. How is all of this not the textbook definition of undermining democracy? Because folks, here's the reality. The Democrats aren't just working to subvert President Trump. No, they're actively working to subvert the will of the American people. But before we continue talking about that, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, folks, check this out. Right at this very moment, President Trump has his highest approval ratings of all time at 53%. Also, 63% of Americans want a total shutdown on all foreign aid, including aid to Ukraine. On top of that, 78% of Americans think it's time for Ukraine to make a peace deal with Russia. The American people have very clearly spoken. We are done with this war. And yet, instead of listening to the American people, the Democrats are holding secret meetings with foreign leader Zelenskyy in this case, pressuring him to reject peace and pushing for even more bloodshed. And so, folks, what seems very clear to me is that the Democratic Party is no longer acting in the best interests of America or Americans. Now, let's take a step back and really think about what's happening here. What we are witnessing right now is a perfect example of the so-called deep state in action. For years, we've all known that unelected bureaucrats and entrenched politicians like Chuck Schumer have been working behind the scenes to control our government regardless of who we vote into office. And now, we have top Democrats, once again like Chuck Schumer, who are not in power anymore, colluding with foreign leaders to sabotage the sitting president of the United States of America. They lost the election, they lost the argument, the American people have spoken. And yet, instead of accepting it, they're doing everything they can to undermine the will of the people. And folks, let's be honest, if the situation were reversed, if Republicans were meeting with foreign leaders to sabotage the Democratic president's negotiations, the media would call it treason. But because it's the Democrats doing it in this case, it's just business as usual in Washington, D.C. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why President Trump's mission to drain the swamp is more important than ever. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who we vote for if a bunch of unelected bureaucrats and minority party politicians can just step in and undermine everything our elected leaders try to do. We, the people, elected Trump to manage foreign policy. We, the people, elected Trump to put America first. And we, the people, want peace, not endless war. But like I said, none of that matters if these deep state operatives are allowed to continue running the show from behind the scenes. And so that is why it's absolutely crucial that President Trump succeeds in rooting these people out of our government once and for all. Because if we don't fix this problem now, if we don't get rid of these corrupt bureaucrats and partisan activists pretending to be public servants, then we will never have a government that actually represents the will of the American people. So really, when you think about it, this is not just about President Trump and what's going on right now. Really, this is about the future of our country. Either we have a government that listens to the people, or we have a government that ignores us while taking orders from a bunch of unelected, unaccountable insiders. For years, the Democrats have told the American people that they are the party of democracy, but now they're literally having secret meetings with foreign leaders to undermine the democratically elected president of the United States of America. They are defying the will of the American people to keep a foreign war going, and they are doing it while accusing Trump of being a threat to democracy. Folks, it is absolute insanity, but you know what? The American people see right through it. There is a reason why President Trump's approval ratings are so high right now. I'll tell you why. It's because people are sick of this anti-democratic behavior from the Democrats. But folks, this is a big one, so I want to know what you guys have to say about all of this, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Please like the video if you liked it. Like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for watching, and of course, as always, stay safe.